Okay? So, I'm going to tell you. If you have a pen, you want to write this down.
Oh, I gotta go get a pen.
I'm telling you,
Oh, I'm sorry.
it is literally going to change your life. And this is not an overstatement, this is legit. So you just watch that screen and follow along. What I've discovered, if you want to go from good to great, you've got to first break all the rules. This is how you're going to learn to win friends and influence people. Now, once you get the flow, you will certainly reach the tipping point. Believe me, that's when you will stop experiencing the 5 dysfunctions of a team. Now, there are 21 irrefutable laws of leadership that have taught me to put on one of my 6 thinking hats, but replace number 5 with the 5th discipline. Yes, I'm going to use my 4-hour work week to learn how to be a 1-minute manager, and I'll be using the 7 levels of communication to explain these concepts to you, but don't blink, because this message is made to stick. Now, you've got to be built to last, recognizing that the one thing you must do is swim with sharks without being eaten alive. But I warn you, be careful of the charisma myth and lean in. It's time to rework the secrets of the millionaire mind and awaken the giant within. You can be great by choice. Now, although our iceberg is melting, and we do not know who moved my cheese, we must never give in or we'll never understand the great game of business. People leadership is an art, and we've got to take the radical leap in search of excellence. And then, oh, the places you'll go. Did you get it?
Yeah,
It's a simple concept, right?
I got it, yeah.
Very easy. See, we've bought into this weird myth, okay? This is a small sample here. If you go on Amazon.com right now and you type in the word leader in Amazon book search, you're going to get 28,000 different books with a title that has the word leader in it. Okay? 28,000. If you type in the word follower, you're going to get 278. So what we've been sold is this concept that we as human beings have to move towards the end result of being a leader. It's the only way you can be successful is if you're at the top of the food chain. Well, when you have 28,000 people saying that, you kind of have to realize there's some garbage in there somewhere. Because this is softball stuff. This is easy. In fact, there was one quote, statistic from a guy I follow on LinkedIn. He said 60% of these books are written by ghostwriters. Meaning that these authors aren't the authors. They just put their name on the book. So that means one guy wrote 7 leadership bestsellers. You have no idea who he is. His name is Bruce Kasanoff. You can follow him on LinkedIn. He's a great writer. You'll never know who he is because he takes credit for other people's ideas. Or other people take credit for his ideas. But he wrote 7 books on the concept of being a great leader. And that's only a small percentage of the 28,000 that are out there. So we've got to get past this mindset first and foremost if we're ever going to pursue something at a deeper level in our businesses. Because if we buy into the myth that we have to go up constantly to be successful, we're ultimately going to continue to dig until there's nowhere else to dig and we're going to burn ourselves out. So we want to figure out how do we do Premier better. And if at any point you feel like, hey, I don't understand you, country boy, just stop me and we can talk about it, okay? If we're going to do Premier better, first we gotta deal with some of the myths associated with Premier. Myth 1 is that this is the perfect business. All right? Let's talk about this. You got to look at your business like you look at dating. And a lot of people say, okay, I'm going to find the perfect man or the perfect woman, and I'm going to find that person, we're going to get married. It's going to be phenomenal, right?
Like Joan and I.
Like Joan and Bob, right? Phenomenal. But if you think about that, like Amy Webb. Amy Webb did she's a statistician who lives in Philadelphia. And she decided to do an experiment because she was single, she wanted to find a guy, and she said, all right, I'm going to approach this from a statistician standpoint. How am I going to find the perfect man? So she decided, let me look at Philadelphia's population. It has 1.5 million people at that time. She figured, based on census data, that about half of them were men. That meant her pool was down to 750,000 people that she could choose from. Still really great odds of finding that person, right? She was, at that time, between the ages of 27 and 30-ish, I can't remember exactly, but she wanted to find someone a little bit older than her, so she was going from ages 30 to 36. So she went to the U.S. Census data and figured that that was 30,000 people that fit that mold. So 30,000 men that were single in Philadelphia. Okay? But what was important to her was her Jewish faith. So that even narrowed it down. So now she's down to 690 people. She has to find them, okay? But 690 is still a lot, right? You figure she'd be attracted to 1 out of 10, okay? So now she's got 69 people. She also hates sports, and she was thinking, I don't want to find a guy that's going golfing all the time. So no sports. She's down to 35. 35 people out of 1.5 million. Now this is statistics talking. This isn't something that's just made up. It's something that she researched and figured out. So in order for her to find the perfect man, she had to find one of those 35 people in the whole city of Philadelphia. That person had to be single, attracted to her, found that they had some chemistry. They had to meet at the right time in the right place. It all had to work out perfectly. So the reality is, this isn't truth. There is not one single right person. The same way there is no one single business that is perfect. And since, who's a baby boomer? Are there any baby boomers?
What are the ages for baby boomers?
That's a great question. I don't know. What's the ages of baby boomers? You're a baby boomer?
Yeah, it's up to 1960,
Okay.
65.
Okay, so old people. All right? All right? So older than me.
I don't know, but she looks fairly good, so
Yeah.
baby boomer.
People make fun of my generation. I'm a millennial, okay? Millennials, we're job hoppers. We're going all over the place. We don't stay in one place. We don't care, right? So we would think baby boomers must be really great at picking the perfect job soulmate, right? Here's baby boomers. Oh, there you go. 1957 and 1964. That's...
I guess I'm not.
Oh, man. That's a shame. Well, here's how you all did. You'll hold 11.7 jobs from age 18 to 48. Those of you who are baby boomers. So if millennials are really bad, baby boomers are just as bad. Because the reality is the job soulmate doesn't exist. And if we put Premier on this pedestal of it is the perfect job, it will never disappoint me. The minute it disappoints you, you're going to be screwed. You're going to be upset with your life. You're going to be upset at the people who got you into the business. You're going to be upset about all kinds of stuff because you placed it on this pedestal. The reality is the business will disappoint you. How many of you have done this for longer than a year? Am I right? Mm-hmm. Yep. You don't have a choice. You wish it won't, and you hope it doesn't, the same way I hope my career doesn't disappoint me, but it does. Because the career is not a living thing. It's something that we do, and because we're working with human beings, it's going to be bad at times. So you've got to get out of this mindset that what you've gotten yourself into is perfection. It's not. It's a job. And jobs sometimes are not the easiest things to deal with. So instead, we've got to redefine what we consider successful. That is how you are going to take what you've learned in your business and how you're moving and progressing through your business and take it off of that pedestal and put it into a realistic look for yourself. All right? How many of you recognize that fellow?
Mm-hmm.
Who's that? Mark Zuckerberg. Okay? So let's say you see Mark Zuckerberg, and he's walking down the street, and next to him is a guy named Richard Jones. Okay? Which one of those two guys do you know? You know Mark Zuckerberg? Are you serious? You know him? Really? Man, you gotta introduce me. You don't know Mark Zuckerberg. No one in here knows Mark Zuckerberg. You know of him. Why? Because you have ascribed value to him simply because he produced something that you waste most of your life on. All right? I do too. You better believe I'm scrolling through Facebook for no reason. Right?
Isn't it the truth?
It is totally the truth. There ain't nothing to see except cats and dogs and racism. I mean, it's just, what's the point of going through there? It's ridiculous. So you've got this mess, but we've said to him, you are valuable more than Richard, who's standing right next to you, simply because we know what you've produced. We've started to ascribe value to people and human beings based on their ability to produce something. That's a horrible way to look at success and to look at our lives as humans and our worth by putting it into what we produce. Instead, we've got to put our glasses on, our valuing glasses, based on what really matters. And how do we do that? Let's look at this. This is something I drew. It's an iceberg.
It's nice.
No, thank you. It sort of resembles an iceberg, right? On the top of the iceberg, this is the part we see is our skills. This is the stuff that you learn in trainings and you get online and you look at videos and they show you how to make the combinations with the jewels and all this great stuff. That's a skill. That stuff is easily taught. That's the same as leadership books. It's digestible, it's simple, it's reproducible, but that is not what sets you apart. It's what's underneath. Your character is what sets you apart in this business, my business, anyone's business. This is not easily reproducible, and that's the reason people shy away from working on it, because it's hard. But ultimately, this is what will separate you from the rest of everyone else. But only if you've decided to define your business by how do I view success, not how does the world define it, which we already know, 28,000 books have told us. We have to decide internally first, I am successful when blank, and then develop your character first, so that when you're not successful doing blank, you don't stumble into this mindset of, I'm a failure. No. You just have this depth of character that keeps you grounded. So we've got to figure out why you're in Premier, all right? How many of you join Premier for the money? Okay?
Almost everybody.
Good. How about social? Like for friends? Some of you raise your hand more than once.
Originally, no.
We're calling it emotional, all right? Emotional, money and social. That's why you joined, right? Money and social. And those are perfectly fine reasons. But the problem that a lot of us face is we look at this and we say, yes, I came in because of money, or I came in because I wanted to find some friends. But that's not really why you came in. That's the surface level reason. So what we're going to do here is just in your time, mentally by yourself, or write it down, whatever you want. Think to yourself through this exercise called the 5 whys. What you're going to do is you're going to ask yourself this question: why am I in Premier? And if you say money, okay, the next question would be, why am I in Premier for the money? That's number 2. And then you continue until you get down to the 5th. And if you do this well and you really take time to think through this, you're going to get down to the very in-depth purpose for why you got into this business. When you have your purpose defined at a deep level, that's when you can finally start to say, here's when I know I'm successful. If you say money, way too vague. What does that mean, $5? Well, great, you go to one show, you're successful. That's not really what you meant. But you said money. You've got to drill down. So I'll give you just a few minutes to do this on your own, okay? And you don't rush it. If you only get through the first 2, that's okay. I'll give you one more minute, all right?
Gene, do you want paper? Pencil? Does anybody need paper? Okay.
I don't know if it's just me or.
That was hot. Is that good? Okay.
I'm cold.
Who's
Some
cold?
meat on your bone, baby.
Is that better?
Yes.
Just yell. Good.
All right. It's all right if you haven't gotten all the way through. I encourage you to go home and really marinate on this for a little bit. You want to take the time to really get deep down into the reasons. If you get to number 5 and there's still room for you to drill it down, keep going. I used to work for Hershey Entertainment and Resorts, right? The people that own Hershey Park. And we went through this as a company. Why are we in business? And ultimately, our bottom line why was we wanted to exist to support the Milton Hershey School. That's the sole reason that we charge you $15 for a hot dog when you come to Hershey Park. And so that we can give 14 of those dollars to the Milton Hershey School and support the children that are there. If we would have stopped at, we are in business to make a profit, that meant too much. Are we making a profit for the shareholders? Are we making a profit for our singular business owner? Are we making a profit for the town? It's too vague, and therefore we would shoot in all different directions when we made decisions. So instead, now that we've decided we are doing this for the benefit of the Milton Hershey School, every decision we make from there on out is filtered through that lens. So we know we're not going to do anything that will hurt that mission, even if that means you all as customers don't get the greatest, newest stuff. We have to think first about our why in Premier. Figure out your why. That will dictate the decisions you make down the road. And ultimately, when you're doing your decisions based on the why, you're making choices that fit in line with your definition of success. And then you cannot fail. Even if you don't see revenue, even if you don't have friends falling all over you because of this, if you know your why and you stick to it, you will be successful. Myth number 2. Jewelry sells itself. That is a great marketing line. All right? Sucks you right in. This is easy. Look at this stuff. Okay, have you ever heard that piece of jewelry say anything about buying me? No, it doesn't. You say buy this, but it does not speak.
Oh, you might want to ask some of these girls here.
Now
That's
listen,
Cindy. It says buy me, right?
it can certainly be appealing. All right? But jewelry itself doesn't have the power to sell itself. It can't get up off the table and show you how to put it on. Someone has to do that for you. If you think it's easy, look at this. This is Orville and Wilbur Wright. Okay, they took their first flight. You know this. December 17, 1903. Flight. We look at it now and we think to ourselves, man, take it for granted. It took 3 years for a newspaper to write about this. If flight cannot sell itself, that stuff isn't going to sell itself. How about 3D printing? We all know about it, right? When did it start? Anyone know? 1984. Chuck Hull, that guy right there, he printed an eye wash cup. Of all the things, he said he printed it because it was the easiest thing he could think of. But in 1984, this technology existed and was being used. And we're just now getting around to talking about it. And it's already changed manufacturing completely. If this can't sell itself, this can't sell itself. How about these places? Okay? This right here gets people crazy. If I were to ask you which one do you go to, you probably have a very strong opinion. All right? I don't know. Do y'all have a lot of these around here? Mm-hmm. Okay. Who's a Target person? Who's a Walmart person? How about Kmart? That's a common reaction. All right? But here's the deal. They all sell the same garbage. You Target people, just pay more for it. Just go to Kmart and get it for like $10 cheaper. All right? You're not going to have your Starbucks cup while you're walking around in Kmart, but you're going to walk out with $5 extra, right? But
anybody to help you either.
that's right. No one else. Now listen, this is an important thing to consider. When we're talking about what sells itself, these people are selling the same garbage, and so they have to be very specific about who they're targeting with their garbage. Let's look at how they market, all right? Walmart. Their strategy is they are specifically looking towards poor and middle class. Okay, that's who they market to. If you shop there, that doesn't make you poor or middle class, but that's their target market, all right? In fact, 56.7% of the people that shop there have a household income of less than $49,000. And 40.4% of the stores are located in the South, which in the United States, the South is more impoverished than the North. So it makes perfect sense. Target, their executives, their marketing executives have said that their core customer is the boomer mom, someone who drives a minivan, lives in the suburbs, and wants it all.
Oh boy.
That's literally out of the mouth of the marketing executive. 60.1% of their shoppers are female. And then Kmart is targeted towards the ultra low income and fixed income. They offer lots of layaway options. Over 20% of Kmart's business is consumers over the age of 65, most of whom are on fixed incomes. No one markets to over 65. No one. But Kmart, because the mom's going here, the middle income's going here, and they're going for the people who are on fixed incomes. All selling the same garbage, but they know that it does not sell itself. They have to be very specific about their niche. The same is true of you. And we struggle with this because we get kind of weird about we don't want to target certain people. Tough luck, you're in sales. This is the way it works. You target people or you don't sell anything. The way we do this is to know yourself and what you are selling. Okay? Let's talk about some things that are sold. Listen to this, okay? When is the last time you went to McDonald's and you walked out and went home to your family and said, you know what? You guys got to go to McDonald's. It's the best customer service ever. Never in the history of mankind has anyone ever said those words. Why? Because McDonald's is not selling customer service. They're selling a product, 99-cent cheeseburger hamburger. That's what they're selling. And they do it very well. Listen, it comes in a bag and like the bun's lopsided and the cheese in a different bag. But when you put it together, I love McDonald's, okay? But they're not selling to you customer service. How about this? UPS. You ship UPS, right? You ever gone to the UPS store and thought to yourself, man, you know what? I'm going to get on this guy's truck with him and drive around and deliver this product. No! You don't care if he's happy or sad. You don't care what kind of mood he's in. You don't care if his truck is clean. What's happened to him during the day. As long as he takes your package from point A to point B, you are satisfied with UPS. That's what they're selling. A singular service. Package distribution. How about gas? You ever been to the gas station and said, you know what? I want to spend my weekend at the gas station. Of course not. Right? It's a necessity. You don't have a choice. You have to buy gas. And they know you hate going there, which is why they put the credit card machine on the pump. Right? They know you don't want to talk to anybody unless you want a Slim Jim. There's no reason for you to go inside. They sell a necessity. And then how about this? Who likes Starbucks? Pumpkin spice latte is back.
Yeah.
Listen, I love Starbucks, but I went to Starbucks the other day and got a tall, which is their version of small, and they just have to call it something fancy so you can charge me more. Their tall was $5. I have never left Starbucks and thought, man, that was worth $5. Ever. Why? Because their product is crap. It's horrible. Okay? They lose in taste tests at Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's constantly. But you're not buying a product at Starbucks, folks. They have a 450% markup on their coffee.
Wow.
It costs them more to produce the cup than it does to produce the drink that's inside. Okay? But you're not buying that. You're buying an atmosphere. Because you know when you go inside, there's going to be a nice warm place to sit down and read a book. Everyone's going to look like hipsters behind the counter. No one's going to be over the age of 30. Right? It's going to feel like you want to put on a turtleneck, go around and hug people. Every Starbucks in the world is exactly the same. They're selling to you an atmosphere. All right? So those are the four basic categories. Product, service, atmosphere, and necessity. Those are the four basic consumer categories. What are you in Premier selling?
Product.
Product?
Atmosphere? Yourself?
You replace me, right?
Yeah.
It's part of it. Anything else?
Service.
Service?
But atmosphere too. Like when
Of
you're at
course.
the show, it's definitely atmosphere. They
You
wanna
are selling all of that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, none of that is worth anything if you're not selling you. You are the product. Period. This is secondary. Because there's a billion other companies that have this. I can go to JCPenney and get something that's a lot cheaper than this. I'm buying you to come to my house and sell me this. If you don't get that, you're in a bad spot. Well, look at this here. Put that together in a sentence. Go ahead.
I see a big blue truck.
Okay? What was it?
I see a big blue truck.
Same.
Same? Really?
A big blue truck I see.
No. I see a blue big truck. Right? I see a blue big truck.
Big blue.
Big blue.
Yeah.
Big blue?
Right?
It feels weird when I say blue big, right?
Yeah.
Where did you learn that? That that's supposed to be weird? Who taught you that?
Teachers.
Did they really? They taught you what order to put adjectives in?
I guess so.
Did they really? So tell me the order. Let's hear them. Tell me the order of adjectives. You know them, right?
Are we in school?
Come on, you know it.
Like double no.
The reality is this is not taught in any school anywhere. It isn't. Here's the order if you're wondering. Opinion, size, age, shape, color, origin, and then material. That's the order they go in. That's not taught in any school anywhere in the United States. This is something that you learn. You assimilate because that's the way people in the United States talk. This is why it's very difficult when people come from overseas and they learn English. This is one of the hardest things. Because in Spanish, this is not how it works. But we're not taught this. We have assimilated into this. We've become big blue instead of blue big. We have a tendency to do the same exact thing with how we define ourselves. And if we're selling ourselves and we do this to ourselves, we're doing ourselves a disservice. So here's how it works in the business world. We go up to someone and say, "Hi, my name is Clayton, and I do blank. I work for Candoris Technologies," which is where I work. It's as if my last name is Candoris Technologies. Do I care about Candoris? Of course. They're paying me a salary. It's great. Is that who I am? Nope. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. Those are the two defining things that if I have my druthers, and I didn't just automatically default to this, I'd say, "Hi, my name's Clayton. I'm married to Gretchen, and I have 2 wonderful children." And then people would be freaked out, like, "Wait a second. You're supposed to say what you do, right?" Here's what I want us to do right now. Take 1 minute, and maybe just mentally, maybe write it down. I want you to write down every single role that you play in life. As best you can. Maybe it's grandmother, mother, spouse, sister, whatever. Write them all down. Ready? Set, go. In 20 seconds. Stop. Okay. How many of you have at least 5 different things written down or thought of? How many of you have 7? 8? 9? 10? Okay, 10 is good.
18.
18. Holy cow. You need some order in your life, Joe. Out of those 18 things,
Well, Bob.
Bob should be 1, right? He's not- Out of those 18 things, what would you say if you had to rank one of them as the thing that you had to be defined by? What would it be?
Yeah.
Ultimately, it doesn't matter. Honestly.
I used to say,
Okay?
right.
Thank you. Ultimately, it doesn't matter what you choose. What matters is Premier gives you the option of ranking those however you want. Candoris doesn't. I have at least 40 hours in my week where Candoris is my thing, whether I like it or not. It is always my thing during those 40 hours. And then the expectation is if I'm ever out and meet someone who could buy our garbage, still my thing. Because I'm them. You have a unique opportunity as a business owner to decide what do you rank, what do you want to be. But the beautiful part about that, if you begin to put those things in an order of this is how I want to be represented, you will begin to see a picture emerge of your niche market. If you're saying to yourself, I really view myself as a mother and a wife first, well, maybe that should be where you concentrate your efforts. Don't go after the grandmothers. You aren't a grandmother. You don't know them as well as you do the mother and wife. Make that your niche market. But ultimately, if you've decided Premier is what defines me first, I think you've got a hard road ahead of you. Because Premier will continue to disappoint you. And if you've made that your definitive answer, it will affect all the other roles in your life. This is all about differentiation. Yes? Somebody said
No, I
question?
sneezed.
Oh, I think it's a question.
Oh,
That's a question. Oh man, that freaked me out. I was like, "That's your question? What?" We're talking about the concept of differentiation. How do you make Starbucks different than Dunkin' Donuts? How do you make Walmart different than Target? How do you make your Premier business different than your Premier business? Because you're both selling the same thing. You can't cross paths. You don't want to cross markets. That's bad news bears. That's called market cannibalism. Happens all the time. The difference is you can't buy her out and she can't buy you out. The way Target could eventually buy out Kmart. You've got to figure out how to differentiate yourself. So let's talk about yourself with your Premier hat on, okay? Let's assume you've defined your roles, but we're talking specifically about Premier at this point. When I'm doing Premier business, what is the one word I think of when I think of me as a Premier business person? What's your one word? Just think about it, figure it out, okay? Does everyone have their one word? And it might be like bubbly, excited, joyful, whatever the case may be. Second question to ask yourself, do you like the word you chose? It's very important to be honest with yourself. Third, would others agree with that word? This is vital. We live, you all watch American Idol, right? You've seen that? Okay? If there's one thing American Idol taught us, it's that our moms are bad judges of talent. Right? Seriously. Everyone's mom said, you can sing. And they go on the show. My friends told me I could sing. My mom said I could sing. Sorry, you can't sing. If you don't have validation about what you think you are, you're the only one who thinks it. If you describe yourself as bubbly and joyful, but all your friends will be like, man, you're kind of miserable all the time, then you did not pick the right word. You picked an image of what you hope you would be, but you're not picking the accurate description. The reason you want to be accurate is for this question. Do you want to be that word? Do you want that to be how you are defined in this business? And if not, who can change that? You! I can't change it for you. Only you can do that. But we don't like that. We don't like to deal with that internally. We want it to be easy. Because of this. This is the duplicity of self. Everyone in this room is awesome. Yep. But you're also horrible. Congratulations. That's life. You don't get a choice in that. You might think, and most people do, they have a tendency to stay right there. I am awesome. Everything I do is awesome. Everyone loves me. I am joyful. I'm bubbly. I'm so great. They don't ever access the fact that no, you are at times horrible. You can't get past it. If you recognize that you have both of these, that is the only minute when you can really make a change between, okay, this is what I think I am, but this is what I really want to be. You have to live in this tension. Don't get caught up in this idea that because I describe myself one way, because I represent myself one way, that everyone believes that or understands that about me. A lot of the times we are self-deluded. We don't understand. So we've got to move past that. But if we're going to change, it's going to be difficult. John Maxwell talks about the 20-50-30 rule. 20% of people will support you in your efforts to change who you are and what you're about. They'll be excited for you no matter what you say. Like, I'm going to decide to be miserable. That's great, honey. Go for it, right? You're going to have 20% going for it. 50% are going to be neutral towards it. They don't care one way or the other. They're going to be, yeah, that's great, go for it. You know, whatever. Great, I'm not, whatever. 30% are going to be anti whatever you're trying to do.
Now, what kind of change do you mean, Clayton?
Personal change or professional change. No matter what kind of change, this applies. It's applicable across the
Like
board.
when you join Premiere and your family and friends find out.
Boom. Right? 20% of your family and friends will be like, gung-ho. I'll hold a show for you. 50%, maybe I mean, I'm not against it. Good luck. Hope it goes well.
Hope you stick with it.
Right?
Yeah.
And then 30% will be like, why did you do that? Do you know it's a scam? Do you know it's a pyramid scheme? Don't you know it's really going to be bad for you? Right? When people do that, where do we focus our attention? 30%? We spend all our time like, well, you know, my cousin said it was going to be bad. You are missing out on 70% of people that are actually for you, because this column tilts to the left. The neutral people are more for you than the ones that are against you. So why do we focus all of our efforts on the 30%? Why is that? Why is that? Because we want to hold on to the I am awesome mentality. We want them to see how great I am. And if they don't get it, then I'm not great. False, right? You define how successful you are. You define the way you approach this business. They don't ever have to agree with you for you to be successful here. But don't be surprised when it's difficult. It's more difficult if you focus on that 30%. And that leads us to the final myth, which is that this business is easy. Who would say it's easy? Good. I'm glad. Let's look at some statistics. This is Direct Sales News. They're one of the leading publishers of statistical data about the direct sales industry as a whole. So what they're talking about is in the entire world, every direct sales company in the world, not just the United States, but worldwide. This is the income level for the last 12 months. Now this was done, don't quote me, I believe it was like 3 years ago or so. The median income was $6,200, okay, yearly. The reason why, because this is hard. It's hard to turn a profit. I'm in a business right now, it's a tech company. Tech's all the rage right now. We've been in business 5 years. We have multi-millions of dollars in revenue every single year. It's the first year we were profitable, this last year. So we've been in the black, or the red, for 4 years, and now we're finally in the black. Okay? Revenue means nothing if you're spending all your money to keep the business afloat. Business is difficult. How difficult is it? Look at what the U.S. Labor Bureau has to say. 8 in 10 businesses fail within 10 years. That's every business. We're not talking about direct sales, we're talking about every business. So if you fail, congratulations, you're in good company. 80% of people do too. But why that is, why we say fail, is very different. Because for some people, what they want is $6,200 more in income. And if they get that, it's not a failure. If you decide what you're in for and you reach that goal, who cares what the statistics say? It ultimately doesn't matter. But you can't look at this like, okay, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to blow the doors off, and in a year I'm going to be at the very top. I'm going to take Andy's job and I'm going to be the CEO of this company. Premier is going to love me. That's a great idea to have, but it's very difficult. And go for it, man. If you can do it, great. But be realistic that this is hard to do. It's hard because a lot of people rely on luck. They say, okay, jewelry sells itself, and so I'm just going to set it up somewhere and I'm going to get rich. False, right? That ain't how it works. How many of you like Chick-fil-A? Now, up north we don't have a lot of Chick-fil-A's. Down south you can walk to them. Just one right after the other.
My kids say, my son has it on campus. He says it's great.
Oh, great is an understatement. Chick-fil-A is basically, it's like heaven, Chick-fil-A. Right? Chick-fil-A is phenomenal. Now they have, now it's about 1,950, so 1,950 so restaurants in the United States only. They're not international. Although they are expanding to Canada, so if you got Canadian friends, tell them to watch out. They had $5.8 billion in sales, okay, every year, year after year. KFC has 4,400 restaurants around the world, and they had $4.2 billion in sales.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
Wow.
and Chick-fil-A is only open 6 days a week.
Yeah, I'm open on Sunday.
With a third of the restaurants, they made $1 billion more in revenue, and they're closed 1 day a week. How do they do that? Is it because their chicken sandwich is that good?
Customer service.
Exactly. 100%. Because you go into Chick-fil-A and you're treated as if you're sitting down at a fine dining restaurant. They got people walking around filling your drinks up. May I refresh your beverage? Who talks like that?
How may I serve you?
Yeah, how may I serve you? Right? But this is what sets them apart. Because no one talks like that in the fast food industry. Most of the time it's what you want.
Here's your total.
Yeah, $5.95, please pull around, right? It's exactly what it's like. But Chick-fil-A has decided we're going to differentiate ourselves not based on our product, although their product is fantastic. They differentiated themselves based on their service level. And so I was a general manager of a Chick-fil-A. And I had to tell my folks, here's how we're going to do this. We're going to serve people and we're going to do it very well. I went to the owner of the store. It was my first week being there. I said to him, hey, listen, you know, I've got some ideas for how we can market locally. Can we talk about that? And he looked at me like, what are you talking about, dude? I was like, listen, we got to get the message out, about being in the community. And he said, hold on, come here. He took me over to the drive-through window. He said, look out there. You see them cars? I said, yep. He's like, that's our marketing. What are you talking about? So those people in those cars are going to go out of here and they're going to tell everyone else to go to Chick-fil-A. We don't have to do anything. Because those people are going to have such a good experience that they will become what they call raving fans. You see what I'm doing right now? Do I work for Chick-fil-A anymore? It's been 4 years since I worked there. I'm making $0 by telling you how great they are. But I will tell everyone how great they are. Because they're phenomenal. I am what is called a raving fan. It is their entire strategy. They get people like me to go around and talk about them without paying me a dime. But they do that because they've treated me so well consistently from store to store to store, whether I was working there or I was a consumer there. And there's people who are die-hard Chick-fil-A fans. Die-hard. When they open a new store, they camp out overnight. I'm not kidding. You have to be there 24 hours in a row, and then if you are there 24 hours and you're the first 100 people, you get free Chick-fil-A for a year.
Wow.
And they have people that camp out everywhere.
Yeah.
It's incredible. They had to change their program because college students were traveling around during their summer break. They were just going to different ones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's absolutely insane. But they have chosen service as their differentiator. And listen, folks, if you're going to choose anything, that's what you should choose. Because people that try and differentiate on the product are fighting an uphill battle. You have to differentiate the way you treat others, and it will come back to you in spades. People will love having you in their home versus, man, I gotta have some lady come to my house tonight trying to sell me mess, right? Instead, they're gonna say, you know what? I can't wait for her to come over. And then they're gonna, after you leave, they're gonna say, hey, guess what? This girl came over, she was phenomenal, you wanna have her, right? They're gonna do your marketing for you. But only if you do service well. Now look, that's you. Let's just say that's you right there. This is Facebook. Okay? That's Facebook. Buy our household items, buy our food products, buy our jewelry, buy my essential oil. Well, let me ask you something about essential oils. If they're so essential, how come I lived 32 years without hearing about them? Boom! Drop the mic. Right? But seriously, people try and sell me stuff constantly. I don't even know some of them. But this is every Facebook feed out there right now. We were just talking about LuLaRoe. What did we decide it was?
Yeah,
LuLaRoe.
LuLaRoe.
I tell you, I get invited to LuLaRoe. They don't even sell men's clothing.
Yeah.
And do they? Oh my. See, whoever's invited me, they don't do enough
Floral
niche marketing to let me know
Floral
that.
underwear.
Right? How many of you use Facebook to market? Nothing wrong with that. How many of you only use Facebook to market? If that's your only strategy, good luck. Because this is just noise at this point. People are blocking you, they're ignoring you, they're deleting you if you're super annoying about it. We have a family member who got blocked by her own family. This is redonkulous at times.
You're right.
In our home, we have a saying, organization is the key to victory in everything. If we want to make sure our kid does not poop on my couch, we have to keep things organized so we can get quickly over to the changing table, right? We have recognized with having 2 children, if we don't clean up as we go along, it becomes a nightmare. And it looks like we're living at Toys R Us. But most people are not organized in their business. Let's talk about phone calls and such. Ask yourself these questions. How many calls, emails, or social media posts did you make in the last month? How many of you can give me an exact number? None of you. Okay? How many records did you keep regarding the transactions that, or not transactions, but the interactions that you had? So after you hung up the phone, how many of you wrote down what you talked about?
In general? Or just
In general. So, listen. This is a spreadsheet. If you have a computer, you can get this for free. It's a beautiful tool.
If you know how to use it.
If you know how to use it, it's simple. You just put in little columns, right? You can look on YouTube, right? Just stop, look on Facebook for a minute and go to YouTube. I have a buddy who works for my company. He got into sales for the first time ever. And his supervisor told him, all right, I want you to make a spreadsheet. And he made 5,000 names. We're focused on a niche market of nonprofits. That's what our target market was. 5,000 names. He's like, all right, I got the names. He's like, all right, I want you to cold call every single one of them. Wow. Okay? And he's like, well, that's a lot of work. He's like, that's why we got to do it. 75% will never call him back. 24% will let you know they aren't interested before you even get the pitch out of your mouth. 1% will say, yeah, tell me more. They're not even saying, I'm going to buy something. They're just saying, tell me more. So he potentially, out of 5,000, has 50 people who are potentially willing to listen to him. But do you know what his spreadsheet says? Every time he talks to someone, and they say, hey, we're not interested, we've already got a service provider. Well, he writes down, I already have a service provider. Follow up on this date. 3 months. And he keeps a record. And then 3 months later, he calls back and references the first call. Hey, I called you 3 months ago and you said you were satisfied with this service provider. How are things going now? All of a sudden, it's not cold anymore. It's a little warmer. And so on and so on. If someone calls you and you say, hey, do you want to hold a show? And they respond, well, you know, I can't. You know, my mom is sick. She's in the hospital. I'm so sorry to hear that. Well, don't worry with it. 3 months later, hey, I hope your mom's doing better. I'm sure she's out of the hospital now. When can we get that show on the books? You're not going to remember that if you keep it in your head. You have to get this out of your mind and write it down on paper. Organization is how you do this. Now look, that's me. I started a consulting company. All right? This is my website. I have made 750 cold calls or emails. Do you want to know how many things I've gotten booked from that?
5.
10. Do you know how many are paid?
0.
0. I have a potential for 1 paid gig in November of 2017. So at this rate, my family will starve to death. But why? Because business is difficult. But I have written down every single rejection I've gotten. I know exactly who said no and why they said no. And in 3 months, they're going to be hearing from me again. And I'm going to say, here's what you said last time. Is that still happening? And they're either going to have to choose to lie to my face, which most people don't. You confront them. As soon as they start doing that, boom, you're going for the kill. Business is difficult. Now, it's difficult because we have excuses. There are several excuses. We're going to run through them real quick. The first excuse we like to do is, I don't want to be salesy. Who said that here? Okay? Being salesy. If you don't like being salesy, find a new job, right? You're in sales. This is part of it. Now listen, I went to a Skechers store in Hershey. We have the outlets there. And I went into Skechers and I didn't really want any shoes. I just went inside. And this lady came from around the corner and she had, she was covered in tattoos and she had like half of her hair was shaved off and the other half was real long and basically the opposite of me, all right? And I made the stupid judgment, okay, this girl's weird, I don't want to have anything to do with her. Stupid, but that's how human beings are, right? I accessed my horrible side in that moment and I made that judgment. But she comes over and she says, she does not say, okay, what do most people say? Can I help you? There's a good answer for that. Nope. Just looking. Every one of us does that. Every single one of us says those exact words. But she did not allow me the chance to do that. You know what she said? She came over and said, you look like you're a size 10.5. And so my response is, nope, just looking, but that didn't fit her question. So I couldn't say that. And so I was like, and she went in for the kill. And she said, 10.5, I'm going to show you exactly where those are. So she walked me over to the 10.5. And she said, I'm going to let you look around for a bit. I'll check in with you in a minute. Well, I was like, I didn't want this. I didn't want her talking to me, but at least she let me alone. Then she comes over. I got in my hand a shoe. She comes over and she starts talking to me about that shoe. Let me tell you about the ergonomics of that shoe. Let me put it on for you just so you can feel it. I know you might not be interested in buying it, but I want to show you the difference between this one and this one. And I was angry. I didn't want her to be dealing with me, but she was slow and steady and methodical. And she showed me the difference. How many shoes did I leave with? 3 pairs. 3 pairs.
Wow.
She was not salesy. What she did was she believed in her product. If you are afraid of being salesy, it means one of 2 things. Either you are incredibly insecure or you do not believe in what you're selling. If you believe in what you're selling and what you're offering, it's not salesy because what you're saying is, I have something of value that I can give to you. Come and talk to me about that, but you have to believe it. Then you got this one. But I don't have a broad network. I don't know a lot of people. Whose fault is that? Yours! You got a mouth, right? This is a bow tie. My wife bought me my first bow tie in 2012 or so. At that point, I had roughly 130 LinkedIn followers, right? I put on a bow tie and started to wear it to work. I now have 750. And I blame it 100% on that. Why? Because everyone stopped to talk to me about that. They're like, hey man, where'd you get that bow tie? You like wearing bow ties? What? I never seen anyone with a bow tie, right? I didn't plan for that to happen, but I took advantage of those conversations. Because we started to talk and I was like, hey, well, what do you do here in the company? What are you all about? Where do you come from? Where do you live? And then all of a sudden I started to form these relationships. Don't go out and buy bow ties, that might not help you. But if you're not taking advantage of the conversations that happen along the way in your life, you are missing out on building your network. And you're leaving it up to luck. If you're walking through, my wife does this, drives me insane. We go to the grocery store and someone will say, "I love your necklace." And her response is, "Thank you." And I'm like, "What did you just do? You say you're running a business, you gotta turn around and sell that thing off your neck." If you are missing those opportunities, and it's not about getting a sale, folks. It's about saying, "You like this necklace? That's great. Where are you from? Let's get to know one another a little bit." If you try and sell, they don't want anything to do with you. Just get to know people. Build your network. "But I don't have time." Yes, you do, you liar. You got time. You see that? That's a recliner. It's my favorite thing in the world. Heaven, Chick-fil-A recliners. That's how it works. How many of you have seen The Office? That show on TV? I've watched the entire series 9 times.
What?
Yep. I watched The West Wing. You remember that show? Best show ever. I watched the entire series 4 times, all 9 seasons. Do I have time? Yep. I just use it like a lazy person. I eat blocks of cheese. And I sit in my recliner and I watch the same show over and over. But I complain, I don't have enough time in my life, I can't do anything. That's what we all do. But the reality is you have time, you just think at using it well. This is not a good excuse. I thought this was an easy business. We've already discussed this, but listen. I got a buddy of mine, he's my financial advisor. And since I'm doing so well in my consulting business, he's overwhelmed with me. But he sits in the office all day, every day, from about 7:30 in the morning until 5:30ish. And he was telling me a while back, he said, "I go outside of my office and I start driving down the road and I see these guys over at the Hershey Med Center." It's right, it's a big, huge place, hospital there. And he sees these guys mowing the grass and he says, "I just sit there and I think to myself, man, those guys have a life. They get to be outside all day, working with their hands. It's beautiful. And they get done earlier because they start earlier and they get done earlier than I do." And he said, but then I started to think, I bet you they look at me driving by and they say, "Look at that guy. He's got a tie on. He gets to sit in the air conditioning all day long. He gets to go home to his family without having to take 5 showers a day. This guy's got it made." This is what we have a tendency to do. We take ourselves and we compare who's got it easier, who's got it better than I've got it. The ultimate reality is everyone hates work. Work sucks. It just does. No one likes to do it. But if you look at work in a different light, you can start to see work has some incredibly redeeming value to it. Work helps to grow our character. Work helps to grow our self-control. We put ourselves to the side so that we can provide for our families. We decide it's not worth sitting at home watching The West Wing over and over again if my family suffers. That's an incredible trait to learn, and we learn that through work. So when you're approaching your business, make sure you keep in reality the fact that working is hard, but it's not for nothing. Whether you make money or not, work does good in your life. These are the 4 things we talked about. Redefine success, know what you are selling, know yourself, and don't leave it to luck. And that's all I've got. Anyone have any questions, concerns, or thoughts?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
Denise?
I'm sure.
it's all up to you now.
Oh, it's all up to me?
I guess you're taking it back over. Somebody, you taking it back over?
No, what questions? Come on, somebody's got to have a question.
I like your flower.
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Appreciate that.
I got a question. Ever thought about doing TED Talk?
Ever thought about doing a TED Talk? I have, but it's not
You seem
easier
like
said than done.
Oh, really? Now, when you said change, everybody, what other changes would you give an example of, Clayton? I mean, Janine came up with a good one starting from here, but like what other, like, you know, obviously it's all, because you don't see yourself in things that you should change. What, like?
Do other people see it?
Probably, I'm sure.
Ask them.
Yeah.
Who's willing to do that nowadays?
Change, even like dieting. Like you start a diet, a lot of people say, you won't stick to that. You know, or an exercise program, or...
But even things related to this business, you know.
Well, let's say you have a tendency to avoid phone calls, right? You don't like talking on the phone. It makes you super nervous because you don't know what to say. And so you decide, I'm going to really make an intentional effort to become better at making cold calls to people.
Okay.
Some people are going to be like, you can do it. These people will probably tell you that. You're going to do great. You can do this. I know you can. But, I don't know what your husband would say about this, but he might be like, there ain't no way she's going to do that. Because he knows you, he knows what your background is, he knows you've never committed to that before, and so he might be the detractor.
Okay.
Not necessarily out of ill will or anger or malice, but simply because I see the pattern before, I don't believe it's going to happen, so I'm not really going to throw my support behind it.